personally, I think it's like a huge blessing to be living here and to be able to pretty much say whatever we want to say, and there's no repercussions from authority figures because, I mean, that's a freedom that we've just been given, and I kind of wish that had been spread around the rest of the world because, there are ideas and there are different thought processes that need to be spread around, and you can't do that if you're silencing some people.
I have.
What was the protest about?
It was about us getting paid less.
Getting paid less?
Yeah, because I'm an art teacher in Mexico and we were getting paid less.
Yeah, I've been to a Black Lives Matter protest in San Diego and been to several Pride events, although not explicitly protests, but a lot of similar issues surrounding that.
I've been protesting all my life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm from Ireland originally, so we're protesting against British rule since I was born, Yeah, so I've been to protest. I was in a couple in Thailand too when they had the red shirts and the yellow shirts.
Wow.
But I was just observing. I wasn't participating,
Yeah, I've been to a couple of protests. I'm originally from like DC, so last summer I was there for some of the protests that went down. So yeah, that was my first time ever like being in any kind of like protest or anything like that. So I'm not really down for the whole Black Lives Matter. There's a lot of things that's like are about that I don't necessarily agree with, and where the money always goes, but like I agree with like what they're obviously trying to say and what they're trying to do and all of that. So it was really just in response to George Floyd and everything that happened, like a spiral effect, everything, Breonna Taylor, just all that stuff just throughout the summer last year when quarantine and all that stuff, like, but it was a build-up obviously.
Before? I haven't. Yes, before?
Not that I know of, no.
Oh.
I don't remember the specific name, but it was the BLM movement in Minneapolis.
I've been to March for Our Lives in Rochester and in Minneapolis, which was against gun violence. I've also been to like some environmental ones.
I felt safe mainly because it was in the day, but I heard a lot at night that it got more violent than peacefulness in the day.
Yeah, I felt pretty safe during my protest. Like police were there, but there was like nothing. It wasn't like they were against us or anything like that.
I mean, there were times. I mean, I was there one of the times where like before the tear gas went out and all that stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? All of that, like over the first, like when the protests really got heavy in DC, like those first few nights when they started restricting like curfews and everything. I was there for one of those nights, and I seen the tear gas. I saw the pepper bombs going off. Like I seen it. Like obviously, I once that happened, I was out. Like
I did feel safe myself. I was with a group of friends and not right in the police crackdown zone. That being said, there's definitely instances where I felt like I had to be cautious of where I ended up and what I would be seen doing.
Not at all. I was very insecure, and also my partners, they were like, we had a lot of questions like what was going to happen if we protest, if we were going to have anything afterwards, or if it was just going to be worse.
I see.
I don't think it's right. They're protesting, they have the right to protest, so they shouldn't use brutal force against those protesters. We should be peaceful.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's got to be like in a tasteful manner. Like I understand, like, because protesting is supposed to be peaceful. It's supposed to be a disruptful, peaceful like experience, I guess. So, I mean, long as nobody's doing anything violent on the, on the other end, I don't think it's worth the police, beating down people and hurting them and stuff. But to be honest, like over here, it's bad. But over in Afghanistan, like over there, like they say anything, they wear something. Women can't even come out. They get, worse than that. So, I just think it's all about authoritarian and like people having more power than other people and like feeling that they can wield it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the police feel like they have a superiority complex. They always have in America, especially against minorities.
Right. That's what I heard too. Yeah.
Well, generally, no, if it's a peaceful protest. Now, in some cases, if some protests are not always 100% peaceful at all times. There is sections of them that can devolve to being a bit more aggressive, in some way become harmful to other people. And there's a very fine line between balancing a use of force to protect the people protesting and the surrounding community.
I feel like that can be looked at it both ways. I feel like a lot of that like stuff can be seen from both angles and perspectives. Like you want to try to cover up stuff that one side doesn't want to hear, but then that breaches on the whole, I guess, freedom of speech and stuff and expression. So I don't know. It's a really hard thing to try to focus upon, especially when it's like two sides trying to say their side is right and then they're trying to make other sides look bad and cover up stuff like that. So it's just like, it's a really broad term and it's very hard to like know what's right and wrong and what should be said and what shouldn't, even though you technically have the right to say whatever you want.
Well, I don't know. There's like, I feel like we're the little fishes on the big sea, and just like the big fishes know what is going on, and like everything is on their hands. And well, there is thoughts, but other than that, like, what are the thoughts without actions?
Right. Do you think it's justified?
Like it's good to have like recordings. You know, I think that's a great way to protect yourself, because you could, you know, in case any government or any group cracks down on you violently, you could use the video as proof, put it out there to the world. I think that's the best way you could. It's hard to defend yourself in the moment, but it's good to have proof of what the other side did.
I don't know, just research, know where you are, know who you're with, and I don't know, just always really understand why you're there, first and foremost, because if you're not really there for the reasons, and you can kind of rethink the whole situation, I think, so.
Well, that's a tricky situation also, because normally when you feel unsafe or you feel like you may be harmed, you call law enforcement, but if it's the people you're supposed to call when you feel unsafe that are making you feel unsafe, what exactly do you do there? Yeah. So some of these situations I've heard of my friends being in, it's almost like every person for themselves, like try to get yourselves out of there and help the people around you. And essentially the best form of protection we have in the 21st century is our cell phones. Sometimes it may not bring the results that it should, but that's essentially the best thing you can do in that situation when it's you against the actual law enforcement meant to protect you.
Know like the full story too. Like I think that's also really important, because like a lot of cherry picking can happen, especially like news sources and stuff like that. So it's weird, but like I think like if you can somehow, if there's any possible way of like someone's recording like the whole thing, if you can get like a full story out, just so people can know and not like be super biased towards one side and like all the cherry picking, especially with news today, how there's a lot of that. So I guess like just trying to find like the full stories and then building your own opinion on what's happening from that without having like any biases from like news and articles and stuff like that.
The thing that I wanted to protest. Well, in 2010, the U.S. made gay marriage federally legal, and I know there was a lot of protests surrounding that at the time. So that is one I definitely would have partaken in.
I think the one thing I would want to change, like honestly, because I know it's going to affect my kids, your all of our kids, is like the earth. We're like parasites on the earth, to be honest. And that's something that like I wish I could like do more about. And back in the 80s, they used to protest about the earth warming up and things about that, and people just didn't believe it, and it's happening. And
I think definitely the environment. You know, it's been getting worse and worse, obviously, and people know this, but because we live in a capitalist world, we always want to be making more money. So, you know, we're reaching that critical point, and obviously, you know, as people who will inherit the world in future generations to come, this is not a good thing. So it really shouldn't be our responsibility to fix it, but it's fallen upon us. So I think making people aware of that earlier in my life would have been something that, you know, I wish I could have changed.
Well, I don't know. There's like, I feel like we're the little fishes on the big sea, and just like the big fishes know what is going on, and like everything is on their hands. And well, there is thoughts, but other than that, like, what are the thoughts without actions?